I hired a surrogate for me and my husband. The surrogate and my husband fell in love and are running away together with my baby. My name is Jessica, and I'm sitting here at my kitchen table staring at this cream-colored wedding invitation with gold embossed lettering like it's some kind of sick joke, like someone's gonna jump out and tell me I'm on a prank show. But nobody's jumping out. This is my actual life. I threw my phone across the room about 10 minutes ago after David called me. My husband, ex-husband, whatever he is now. He had the audacity to call me and ask if I received their invitation. Like they're a unit now. Like we weren't a unit for 8 years. Let me back up because I need to get this all out before I lose my mind completely. David and I got married when I was 26. He was 28. We were those people everyone said were perfect together. High school sweethearts who actually made it. We bought a house in suburban Connecticut with a white picket fence. I'm not even kidding about the fence. We had dreams of filling that house with kids and chaos and love, except the kids part never happened. We tried for 4 years. 4 years of negative pregnancy tests, awkward doctor appointments, hormone injections that made me feel insane, and the kind of hope that slowly crushes you month after month. I had endometriosis. Severe. 3 surgeries later, and my doctor finally sat us down and said the words that broke something in me. I could maybe get pregnant, but I probably couldn't carry a baby to term. My uterus was too damaged. I cried for a week straight. David held me and said it didn't matter, that we had options, that we'd figure it out together. That's what he said, together. So we looked into surrogacy. We spent months researching agencies, looking at profiles, trying to find someone who felt right. That's how we found Amber. Amber was 24. Blonde hair, blue eyes, this wholesome girl next door energy that immediately put us at ease. She'd been a surrogate once before for a couple in California and said it was the most rewarding experience of her life. She wanted to help people create families. She seemed like an angel. The agency vetted her. We had lawyers draw up contracts. Everything was legitimate and professional and exactly how it was supposed to be. The IVF process was successful on the second try. We used my eggs and David's sperm. That baby was biologically ours. That detail is going to be important later, trust me. I remember the day we found out Amber was pregnant. David and I cried happy tears in the clinic parking lot. We were finally going to be parents. After all the pain and disappointment, something was finally going right. Amber was the perfect surrogate at first. She sent us weekly updates, photos of her growing belly, ultrasound pictures. She seemed genuinely excited for us. We paid her the agreed upon amount plus extra for anything she needed. David and I went to every single doctor's appointment with her. That's where things started to shift, but I didn't see it then. I was too busy being grateful and excited. David started going to appointments even when I couldn't make it because of work. I'm a marketing director at a tech company, and we were in the middle of a huge product launch. Some days I just couldn't get away. David's a freelance consultant, so his schedule was more flexible. It made sense that he'd go. He'd come home and fill me in on everything. The baby was healthy. Amber was doing great. Everything was perfect. Around month 5 of the pregnancy, David suggested we should have Amber over for dinner more often. You know, make her feel like part of the family since she was doing this incredible thing for us. I thought it was sweet. We had her over every couple of weeks. She'd stay for hours, and we'd talk about baby names and nursery themes and all the stuff I'd dreamed about for years. I noticed David was texting her a lot, but again, I didn't think anything of it. They were coordinating appointments, sharing pregnancy information. It was normal. Month 7. That's when I found the first real red flag, but I was so far in denial I painted over it. I borrowed David's laptop because mine was updating, and I needed to send an urgent email for work. His messages app was open, and there was Amber's name at the top of his recent conversations. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The messages I saw weren't inappropriate exactly, but they were intimate in a way that made my stomach hurt. Inside jokes. Good morning texts. Him asking how she slept. Her saying she couldn't stop thinking about him. Him saying the same thing back, but then adding, thinking about the baby. I confronted him that night. He looked genuinely confused, said I was reading too much into it, that he was just being supportive to the woman carrying our child. He made me feel crazy for even questioning it. He held me and said he loved me and only me, that I was stressed from work and hormonal from all the fertility treatments we'd done earlier. That word, hormonal, like my gut instinct was just chemicals making me irrational, so I let it go. God, I let it go. Month 8. Amber moved into our guest room. She said her apartment was doing pest control treatment, and she needed somewhere to stay for a few weeks. We said yes because of course we did. She was 8 months pregnant with our baby. What kind of monsters would we be to say no? Those few weeks turned into her just living with us, and I watched my husband fall in love with her right in front of my face, but I kept telling myself I was imagining things. Little touches that lasted too long. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. David constantly asking if Amber needed anything, bringing her tea, rubbing her feet when she said they hurt. I told myself he was just taking care of the mother of our child. The baby came 3 weeks early. A girl, 7 pounds, 6 ounces, perfect in every way. We named her Emma. Emma Rose. I held her in the hospital and felt complete for the first time in my life. This was everything I'd wanted. Everything we'd worked for. Amber held her too, of course. The agency had prepared us for this. Some surrogates need time to bond before they can let go. It's normal. It's healthy. But the way David looked at Amber while she held Emma, that wasn't normal. That wasn't healthy. We brought Emma home after 2 days. Amber came with us because she was still recovering and living in our guest room. The agency said she'd need another week or 2 before moving back to her own place. I took my full maternity leave. 12 weeks. The best 12 weeks of my life, despite everything. Emma was a dream baby. She slept pretty well, ate well, barely cried. I was exhausted but happy. David was attentive. He did night feedings with pumped milk, changed diapers, did everything a father should do. But he also did everything for Amber, making sure she was recovering okay, bringing her food, spending hours talking with her while I was busy with the baby. I told myself it was fine. She'd given us this gift. The least we could do was make sure she was okay. Week 3 after Emma was born, I walked into the kitchen at 2 in the morning to warm up a bottle. David and Amber were standing by the fridge. Close. Too close. They jumped apart when they saw me. Just getting some water, David said quickly. Couldn't sleep, Amber added. I pretended I believed them. I warmed Emma's bottle and went back upstairs. That was the night everything inside me started screaming that something was wrong. But I had a 3-week-old baby. I was sleep deprived and emotional and still healing from all the trauma of infertility. I didn't trust my own instincts anymore. Week 4. I came home from a quick Target run to find David and Amber sitting on the couch, Emma between them, looking like a perfect little family. They were laughing at something something on David's phone. They looked happy, natural, like I was the intruder in my own home. Hey, I said, probably too sharply. They both looked up with identical guilty expressions. That night after Amber went to bed, I told David she needed to move out. Her recovery period was over. It was time. He got defensive, said I was being unfair, that Amber had given us everything, that we owed her more compassion. We fought for the first time in our marriage. Actually fought, raised voices, accusations, me saying he had feelings for her, him saying I was paranoid and controlling. I cried myself to sleep that night. He slept in the guest room, not Amber's guest room, the other one. The next morning I woke up to Emma crying. I went to get her from the nursery and found David already there, rocking her. Amber was standing in the doorway in one of David's t-shirts. His t-shirt. We need to talk, David said. Those 4 words. The worst 4 words in the English language. We sat in the living room. Emma was between us and her bouncer. Amber sat next to David on the couch. I sat across from them in the armchair. The geography of that moment told me everything. Jessica, David started, and I could hear the goodbye in his voice. These past few months have been amazing. Getting to know Amber, watching Emma grow, being part of this incredible experience. It's made me realize some things about myself, about what I want. I felt numb, like my body already knew what was coming before my brain could process it. David and I have feelings for each other, Amber said softly. She reached over and took his hand. His wedding ring was still on his finger. That detail made everything so much worse. We didn't plan this. We didn't want to hurt you, but we can't deny what we feel anymore. I laughed. Actually laughed. A harsh, broken sound. You can't be serious. We've fallen in love, David said, like that was supposed to explain everything. Like love was an excuse for destroying your wife's life. Get out, I said quietly. Jessica, David started. Get out, I screamed. Emma started crying. I picked her up and held her against my chest. Both of you, get out of my house. It's my house too, David said. Legally, I don't care about legally. Get out before I call the police and tell them you're having an affair with our surrogate and trying to kidnap my baby. Amber flinched at that. Good. We're not trying to kidnap anyone, David said. We just want to figure out a custody arrangement. My blood went cold. Custody? Emma is my daughter, David said. Biologically, I have rights. She's my daughter. I'm her mother. She has my DNA. And mine, David said. And Amber carried her. Amber gave birth to her. Amber has a bond with her. That's when I realized what was happening. They weren't just running away together. They wanted Emma too. No, I said. Absolutely not. We have a contract. Amber signed away all parental rights. Contracts can be challenged, Amber said quietly, especially when there are questions about coercion or unclear circumstances. I stared at her. This sweet girl who I'd welcomed into my home, who I'd trusted with the most important thing in my life. She was threatening to take my baby. You signed a contract, I repeated. You were paid. You agreed to this. I agreed to carry a baby for a married couple, Amber said, but the circumstances have changed. David and I are going to be together. We want to raise Emma as a family. She's not your family. She's mine. David stood up. I'm going to pack some things. Amber and I are going to stay at a hotel for a few days while we figure this out. I'll have my lawyer contact you about custody and divorce. Divorce. The word hung in the air like poison. They left that afternoon. David packed a bag for himself and took half the baby supplies with him. Bottles, diapers, the expensive stroller we'd bought together. He kissed Emma goodbye and tried to kiss me. I turned my face away. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, it's been a nightmare I can't wake up from. David's lawyer sent divorce papers. He's asking for 50-50 custody of Emma. His lawyer claims that because Amber carried Emma, and because David and Amber are now in a committed relationship and planning to marry, they can provide a stable 2-parent home. The implication is that I'm just a single mother who can't provide the same. My lawyer says we have a strong case because of the surrogacy contract, but nothing is guaranteed. Family court is unpredictable. Judges sometimes rule on what they think is best for the child rather than legal technicalities. I've barely slept in 6 weeks. I'm back at work because I have to pay for lawyers now, and my mom comes to watch Emma during the day. She's furious at David. My whole family is. His family is horrified too. His mother called me crying, apologizing for her son's behavior. That almost made it worse somehow. David picks up Emma for his court-ordered visitation every Wednesday and every other weekend. He brings her to the apartment he now shares with Amber, an apartment that should have been for Emma's college fund, money that was supposed to be for our future. I pump breast milk for those visits and imagine Amber feeding my baby my milk while playing house with my husband, ex-husband. The divorce won't be final for months, but he's already moved on, which brings me to today. The wedding invitation. I called David back after I threw my phone. He answered on the first ring. Did you get the invitation? He asked. Like this was normal. Like he was asking if I got his email about a work project. Are you insane? I said. You're actually sending me an invitation to your wedding? To her? We want to be civil about this, David said. For Emma's sake. She's going to grow up with all of us in her life. We need to get along. Emma is 8 weeks old. She doesn't care about your wedding. She will one day. We're trying to do this the right way. The right way would have been not cheating on your wife with our surrogate. I never physically cheated on you while we were together, David said. Like that was supposed to matter. Like emotional betrayal doesn't count. Why did you send this to me? I asked. What do you want? He was quiet for a second. Then he said it. The thing that made me throw up after we got off the phone. We're having the wedding at the inn where we got married, the one in Vermont. And since I'm paying for most of Emma's expenses because of the custody arrangement, I thought it would be fair if you contributed to the wedding costs. I couldn't speak. Actually couldn't form words. I'm not asking for all of it, he continued. Just maybe a few thousand. The venue is expensive, and with lawyers' fees and setting up the new apartment, I hung up, then I threw up in the kitchen sink. Then I called my lawyer and told her everything. She said it was inappropriate but not illegal for him to ask. She said I should keep the invitation as evidence of his character. She said we could use this in court, but I don't want to use it in court. I want my life back. I want my husband back. I want the future we planned back, except that's not possible anymore. I looked up the wedding date. It's 6 weeks from now, October 15th, a Saturday. The venue is the same place where David and I promised to love each other forever, where I wore my grandmother's veil and cried happy tears, where we had our first dance to At Last by Etta James. They're taking that from me too. My best friend Melissa came over tonight after I texted her about the invitation. She's been my rock through all of this. She took one look at me and immediately opened a bottle of wine. Tell me you're not actually considering paying for this, she said. Of course not. I just I don't understand how this is my life. How did I get here? You didn't do anything wrong, Melissa said. David did. And that manipulative little, she caught herself. Amber knew exactly what she was doing. Did she though? Maybe they really did just fall in love. Jess, she moved into your house. She flirted with your husband while carrying your baby. She's now trying to claim rights to that baby despite signing a legal contract. This wasn't an accident. This was calculated. I wanted to believe her, but part of me still felt like I'd missed something. Like if I'd been a better wife or paid more attention or been home more, this wouldn't have happened. Stop, Melissa said, reading my face. I can see you spiraling. This is not your fault. You were dealing with infertility trauma and trusting the wrong people. That's not a moral failing. She stayed until Emma woke up for her night feeding. After Melissa left, I sat in the nursery rocking my daughter and crying quietly so I wouldn't wake her. This baby girl with David's nose and my eyes and Amber's. Nothing. Amber gave her nothing but a vessel, but legally, that might matter. The next morning, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I looked up Amber on social media. Her Instagram was public, and there it was. Her whole perfect life with my husband. Photos of them at the park with Emma. Amber holding my baby with the caption, "Blessed beyond measure." David kissing Amber's cheek with Emma in a carrier on his chest. The three of them looking like a magazine ad for family happiness. And the engagement photos. Professional ones. David on one knee in front of a sunset. Amber crying happy tears. Her hand extended showing off a ring that looked expensive. A ring that definitely cost more than a few $1,000s for a wedding contribution. I scrolled back further. Found photos from during her pregnancy. David's hand on her belly. The two of them at the hospital after Emma was born. Him looking at Amber with this expression of pure love while she held our baby. I checked the dates. Those photos were from when they were still living in my house. When I was at work. When I was trusting them. I found myself rage scrolling through months of photos. Then I saw something that made me stop cold. A photo from 11 months ago. Before we even hired Amber. Before she was our surrogate. The photo showed Amber at a coffee shop. And in the background, slightly blurred but definitely recognizable, was David at the same coffee shop, smiling at his phone. I zoomed in. Enhanced it as much as Instagram would let me. That was definitely him. My hands were shaking. 11 months ago. Before we met her through the agency. Before any of this started. I called the agency. Asked to speak to the coordinator who'd worked with us. Her name was Patricia. Sweet older woman who'd seemed genuinely invested in making our dreams come true. "Hi, Jessica," she said warmly when she got on the line. "How's sweet Emma doing?" "She's good. I have a question about Amber. About how she came to be matched with us." "Of course. What do you need to know? How did she find your agency?" "Oh, she actually applied directly. Filled out all the paperwork online. She'd been a surrogate before, so she knew the process. And you matched her with us based on, what? Compatibility? Well, she specifically requested to work with you and David. That's actually pretty common. Sometimes surrogates see profiles and feel drawn to certain couples. We vetted her thoroughly, and everything checked out. She specifically requested us." "Patricia, can I ask something else? Did Amber know David before becoming our surrogate?" There was a pause. "I'm not sure what you mean." "I found a photo of them at the same coffee shop. From before we hired her." Another pause. "Longer this time. That would be a violation of our protocols. Surrogates aren't supposed to have prior relationships with intended parents. The whole point is neutral, professional boundaries. But you didn't check that?" "We ask, and surrogates sign a disclosure form. If Amber lied on her application, that's when it clicked. All of it. The whole horrible picture. This wasn't an accidental love story. This was planned. Amber had known David before, had specifically gotten herself matched with us as our surrogate, had moved into our house and seduced my husband while carrying our baby. This was a con. A long, calculated con. And I'd paid her thousands of dollars to pull it off. I got off the phone with Patricia and immediately called my lawyer. Left a frantic voicemail. Then I called David. "How did you meet Amber?" I demanded as soon as he answered. "What? Jessica, it's 7 in the morning. How did you meet her? Before the surrogacy?" "We met through the agency. You know this?" "No, before that. I found a photo. You were at the same coffee shop 11 months before we hired her. So how did you know her?" Silence. Long enough that I knew I was right. "David, tell me the truth. It's not what you think," he said finally. "Then what is it?" He sighed. I heard movement, probably him walking away from wherever Amber was. "We met at a conference about 18 months ago. A marketing thing. She was working the registration desk. We talked. Got coffee a few times. It was innocent. You got coffee multiple times with a woman who would later become our surrogate. I didn't know she was going to be our surrogate. That just happened." No, it didn't just happen. She specifically requested us," Patricia told me. "Amber asked to work with us. Maybe she remembered me and thought we were a good couple. Are you listening to yourself? You had an emotional affair with her before she ever carried our baby. And then she engineered a way to get into our lives legally. This whole thing was a setup." "That's insane," David said, but his voice wavered. "Is it? Really? Think about it. She remembered you from coffee dates a year earlier and just happened to decide you'd be a great surrogate client. She just happened to move into our house. You just happened to fall in love. Jessica, were you sleeping with her before Emma was born?" "No, I told you, but you wanted to. You had feelings for her the whole time. It's not that simple. It actually is. You met a woman. You were attracted to her. She found a way to get into our lives by offering to carry our baby. And you both waited until the baby was born to blow up my entire existence." I hung up before he could respond. My whole body was shaking. I felt vindicated and furious and somehow even more betrayed than before. They'd played me, both of them. For over a year, I called Patricia back, told her everything. She was horrified. Said the agency would investigate immediately. If Amber had lied on her disclosure forms, she could face legal consequences. The agency could revoke their approval of her as a surrogate, which could impact the custody case. Then I called my lawyer. Actually got through this time. Told her about the photo, the coffee dates, Amber specifically requesting us. "This changes everything," my lawyer said. "If we can prove this was premeditated, that she intentionally deceived the agency and you, it shows intent to defraud. It could invalidate the surrogacy contract in our favor. Prove she entered into it under false pretenses." For the first time in 6 weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt angry. Productively angry. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $2,000 I didn't really have, but I needed answers. 3 days later, he came back with a file that made my jaw drop. Amber and David had been messaging on Facebook for 2 years. 2 years. Since before David and I even started trying IVF. Before we knew we needed a surrogate. The messages were flirty. Not explicitly sexual, but definitely inappropriate for a married man. David complaining about work stress, Amber being sympathetic, him confiding things about our relationship, about how the infertility was affecting us, about how I was distant and obsessed with getting pregnant. He'd laid the groundwork for this betrayal before Emma was even a possibility. And then about 15 months ago, around the time we started seriously looking into surrogacy, Amber had messaged him, "I've been thinking about what you said about wanting kids. I've been a surrogate before. If you ever need someone, I'd be honored to help." She'd planted the seed. 2 weeks later, she applied to the agency and specifically requested our family. This wasn't a love story. This was a calculated plan to steal my husband and my baby. I took everything to my lawyer. She filed emergency motions. We requested full custody based on fraud and deception. We submitted evidence that Amber had violated her surrogacy contract by having a prior relationship with David. We proved she'd lied to the agency. The next court date was brutal. David looked shocked when our lawyer presented everything. Amber looked terrified. Their lawyer tried to argue that feelings aren't fraud, that people can't help who they fall in love with, that the prior relationship was casual and innocent. Our lawyer destroyed that argument, showed the messages, proved the timeline, demonstrated that Amber had orchestrated the entire thing to position herself in our lives. The judge was not pleased, especially when our lawyer pointed out that Amber was still trying to claim parental rights to a baby she'd signed away while conducting a fraudulent surrogacy. This court finds the evidence of premeditation and deception compelling, the judge said. The respondent knowingly entered into a surrogacy contract under false pretenses, violating agency protocols and potentially state laws regarding surrogacy arrangements. Until a full investigation is completed, custody of the minor child will remain primarily with the petitioner Jessica Harrison. The respondent, David Harrison, is granted supervised visitation pending the outcome of the fraud investigation. Supervised visitation. David could only see Emma with a court-appointed supervisor present. Amber wasn't allowed near her at all. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt empty. That was 3 weeks ago. The investigation is ongoing. The agency is cooperating fully. Amber could face charges for surrogacy fraud. David's lawyer is trying to negotiate, but my lawyer is going for full custody and a restraining order against Amber. The wedding invitation is still on my kitchen table. Sometimes I look at it and laugh. Sometimes I cry. Last week, David called me from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. "Jessica, please. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Everything goes through lawyers now. Amber's leaving me," he said. I stopped. "What?" She said this got too complicated, that she didn't sign up for legal trouble. She's moving back to California. Her lawyer is working on getting her immunity in exchange for testimony. Testimony about what? About how this all started. About the plan. His voice broke. "Jess, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know she was planning all of this. I thought we just reconnected. I thought it was fate or coincidence, or you thought it was okay to have an emotional affair with a woman and then hire her to carry our baby. I wasn't thinking. I was stupid. I was flattered that someone young and pretty was paying attention to me. I was feeling neglected because you were so focused on getting pregnant, and don't you dare blame me for this. I'm not. I'm just saying I was vulnerable and she took advantage of that. She manipulated both of us. She didn't manipulate me. She manipulated you because you were willing to be manipulated. Because you wanted an excuse. I want to come home," he said. "I want to fix this. Emma needs her father. Emma has her mother. That's enough. Jessica, the wedding is in 3 weeks, David. Are you still going through with it?" "There's no wedding." Amber canceled everything. She's gone. I felt a weird sense of satisfaction at that. Poetic justice. He'd blown up our marriage for a woman who never really wanted him. She'd wanted access to our baby, access to whatever fantasy she'd built in her head. Once that fell apart, she ran. "That's not my problem," I said. "Can I see Emma?" "Without the supervisor, please?" "She's my daughter. That's up to the court. If you want to be her father, you'll go through the legal process. You'll take accountability for what you did. And maybe when she's old enough to ask questions, you can explain to her why you tried to give her to the woman who conned us both." I hung up. That was 4 days ago. Yesterday, I got a letter from Amber's lawyer. She's officially relinquishing any claims to Emma in exchange for immunity from prosecution. She's admitting everything. The prior relationship with David, the plan to become our surrogate, the manipulation, all of it. My lawyer says this guarantees I'll get full custody. David will get visitation rights, but Emma will primarily live with me. Amber will be barred from any contact. I should be happy. I won. I get to keep my daughter. But I lost so much getting here. My marriage, my trust in people, my belief that good things come to good people who follow the rules. I'm sitting in Emma's nursery right now, writing this all out because my therapist said it might help to process everything. Emma is sleeping in her crib. She's 4 months old now. She has no idea that her existence caused so much chaos. She just sleeps and eats and smiles at me sometimes, and those smiles are the only thing keeping me going. This morning, I took the wedding invitation and burned it in the fireplace. Watched the cream cardstock and gold letters turn to ash. It felt symbolic. An ending. David sent me an email. He's moving back to his hometown in Ohio, closer to his parents. He wants regular visits with Emma, but he's not fighting for custody anymore. He's not fighting for anything. He sounds defeated in a way that should make me feel vindicated, but just makes me sad because I loved him. For 8 years, I loved him completely. And somewhere in there, he stopped loving me back and didn't have the courage to just say so. Instead, he let a stranger manipulate her way into our lives and destroy everything we'd built. My mom keeps saying I dodged a bullet, that I found out who David really was before I wasted more years on him, that Emma will grow up knowing her mother fought for her. Maybe she's right, but some nights I still wake up reaching for him, still expect to hear him in the kitchen making coffee, still catch myself starting to tell him something funny Emma did before I remember he's gone. The divorce will be final in 6 months. I'm keeping the house. David is paying child support. Amber is somewhere in California, presumably moving on with her life like she didn't almost destroy mine. And I'm here, a single mother at 34 with a beautiful daughter and a broken heart, and a story that sounds too absurd to be real, but it is real. This is my life now. I'm learning to be okay with that. Learning to find joy in the small moments with Emma. Learning to trust myself again. Last week, I started taking Emma to this mother's group at the library. It's full of women with babies Emma's age, and we sit around drinking terrible coffee while the babies play on blankets. One of the women, her name is Rachel, asked me about Emma's father, where he was in the picture. I considered lying, saying he was working, saying we'd split amicably, but instead I told her the truth, not all of it, but the basics. That my husband left me for our surrogate. The room went silent. Then Rachel said, "Oh my God, I read about something like that on Reddit. I can't believe that actually happens to real people, and I laughed. Actually laughed. Because my life has become the kind of story people read online and think is fake. The kind of drama that feels like fiction, but is absolutely, devastatingly real. Another woman, Christine, touched my hand. "You're really brave," she said, "to be here, to keep going." I didn't feel brave. I felt like I was barely surviving, but I smiled and said thank you. That's where I am now. Barely surviving some days. Thriving others. Learning to be Emma's mom without David as Emma's dad. Learning to be myself without the identity of wife that I wore for so long. The legal stuff is almost over. The emotional stuff will take longer. Maybe forever. But Emma is safe. Emma is mine. And every time I look at her perfect little face, I know that she's worth everything I lost to get her. Even if the journey to her was nothing like I imagined. Even if the people I trusted betrayed me in the worst possible way. Even if I'm doing this alone, she's worth it. Last night, I was putting Emma to bed when she grabbed my finger and held on tight. It's a reflex babies have, but it felt like a promise. Like she was saying, "I'm here. We're okay. We've got this." And maybe we do. I still have the house with the white picket fence. I still have my job. I still have my family and friends who showed up when everything fell apart. I still have my health and my strength and my daughter. David sent another email yesterday. Said he's seeing a therapist. Said he's trying to understand why he made the choices he made. Said he wants to be a better father to Emma even if he can't be my husband anymore. I didn't respond. Maybe I will eventually. Maybe Emma deserves to have her father in her life in whatever limited capacity he can provide. But I don't owe him forgiveness. I don't owe him anything. The invitation is ashes. The marriage is ending. The woman who tried to steal my family is gone. And I'm still here, standing in the wreckage, holding my baby girl, building something new from what's left. It's not the life I planned. It's not the happy ending I wanted, but it's mine. It's real. It's honest in a way my marriage never was. And some days that's enough. Today, that's enough. Is my married female friend secretly in love with me? I'm Maya, 28 years old, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person writing this. But here I am, sitting in my apartment at 2 in the morning, unable to sleep because my entire world just got flipped upside down. It started 3 months ago. Well, actually, it started 2 years ago when I met Amber at a marketing conference in Chicago. But 3 months ago is when things got weird. Amber was this bubbly, confident woman with auburn hair and this infectious laugh that made everyone in a room turn to look at her. We clicked immediately over terrible conference coffee and bonded over our shared hatred of corporate buzzwords. She was married to this guy named Derek, seemed happy, showed me pictures of their golden retriever. Normal stuff. We stayed in touch after the conference, texted occasionally, met up whenever I was in Chicago for work. It was easy friendship, you know? The kind where you can pick up right where you left off even if months have passed. Then I moved to Chicago for a new job. Amber was thrilled. She insisted on helping me apartment hunt, showed up with wine and pizza on moving day, introduced me to her whole friend group. Derek seemed nice enough, kind of quiet, worked in finance. They'd been married for 4 years. Everything was normal for the first few months. We'd grab lunch twice a week, hit up yoga classes together, did the whole wine and Netflix thing on Friday nights when Derek worked late, but then I started noticing things. Small things at first. The way she'd touch my arm when she laughed, how she always wanted to sit next to me even when there were other open seats. The fact that she texted me good morning before she texted Derek. I knew this because she told me once, laughing like it was funny. I didn't think much of it. Some people are just touchy. Some friendships are intense, right? Then came the night that changed everything. It was the Thursday. Amber called me crying, like genuinely sobbing. She said she'd had this huge fight with Derek and could she please come over? Of course I said yes. That's what friends do. She showed up at my door in sweatpants and one of Derek's hoodies, mascara running down her face, clutching a bottle of wine. We sat on my couch and she told me about the fight. Derek wanted kids. She wasn't sure. He'd brought it up again and things had escalated. We drank the wine. We talked for hours. She calmed down eventually, started laughing at some stupid story I told about my boss. And then she looked at me with these eyes, these intense, searching eyes and said, "You always know how to make me feel better. You're the best thing that's happened to me since moving to Chicago." I laughed it off. Told her she was drunk, but she grabbed my hand and said, "I mean it, Maya. You're special." The way she said it made my stomach flip, not in a good way. In a, this is weird territory way. I pulled my hand back gently, made some excuse about needing to get water. When I came back from the kitchen, she was lying on my couch, half asleep. I got her a blanket and went to bed in my room, door closed. The next morning, she was gone. Left a note thanking me for being there for her, signed with a little heart, a heart. I tried to convince myself I was reading into things. She was my friend, my married friend, who drew hearts on notes and told me I was special while drunk. I should have addressed it then. I should have said something, but I didn't want to make things awkward. I didn't want to lose a friend over nothing, except it wasn't nothing. Over the next few weeks, things intensified. Amber started showing up at my apartment unannounced. I was in the neighborhood, became her favorite phrase, even though she lived on the opposite side of the city. She'd bring coffee or breakfast or just herself, always with some excuse about why she couldn't be home. Derek was working too much, she said. Their apartment felt empty. She was lonely. I felt bad for her. I really did. So I let her in. We'd watch TV, or she'd help me organize my closet, or we'd just sit and talk. But there was this energy between us now, this tension I couldn't quite name. She started buying me things, little things. A candle in my favorite scent, a book she thought I'd like, a sweater she saw that reminded her of me. When I protested, she'd wave me off, say it was no big deal, say she just loved spoiling the people she cared about, the people she cared about. Not friends, people she cared about. My other friends started noticing too. I'd brought Amber to a girls' night, and afterwards, my friend Jennifer pulled me aside. "Is there something going on with you two?" Jennifer asked, her eyebrows raised. "What? No, we're just friends," I said. "Maya, she literally spent the entire night staring at you. And she got jealous when you were talking to Brittany about that guy from your gym. You're imagining things." But Jennifer just gave me this look, this knowing look, and said, "If you say so." I couldn't stop thinking about it. Was Amber jealous? I replayed the night in my head. Brittany had been telling me about this cute trainer who'd asked for my number, and I'd been excited, laughing about it. And Amber had gotten really quiet, changed the subject, made some comment about gym guys being shallow. I'd thought she was just being protective. Now now I wasn't so sure. The next incident was worse. I'd started seeing the gym guy, Marcus. Nothing serious, just a few casual dates. I mentioned it to Amber over lunch, tried to keep it light and casual. Her face fell, like visibly fell. She put down her fork and said, "Oh, that's great. I'm happy for you." She did not sound happy for me. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Fine, just surprised. You didn't mention you were interested in anyone. It's new. It's not a big deal." "Right, not a big deal." She picked at her salad for a minute, then looked up at me. "Does he treat you well? Better than you deserve? Better than I deserve? What does that mean?" She backtracked immediately. "I just meant you deserve the best. You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are, who appreciates all your little quirks and knows exactly how you take your coffee and remembers the stories you tell." And she stopped abruptly. "Sorry, I'm being weird. I just care about you." The way she said it, the intensity in her voice, the fact that she just described herself, someone who did know all those things about me, I felt sick. After lunch, I sat in my car for 20 minutes trying to process what had just happened. Jennifer was right. Amber wasn't just being a good friend. This was something else, something more, and I had no idea what to do about it. I did what any confused person would do. I avoided her. Started making excuses when she wanted to hang out. Said I was busy with work, busy with Marcus, busy with anything that wasn't spending one-on-one time with Amber. She noticed. Of course she noticed. The texts got more frequent, more desperate. Did I do something wrong? "I miss you. Can we please talk?" I felt terrible. She was my friend. She'd been nothing but kind to me. And here I was, ghosting her because I couldn't handle whatever feelings she might have. But I also felt trapped. If I addressed it directly, what would I even say? "Hey, I think you have a crush on me and it's making me uncomfortable." What if I was wrong? What if I was just some narcissist who thought everyone was in love with her? Then Marcus broke things off. He was nice about it, said he wasn't ready for anything serious, the usual stuff. It stung, but honestly, I hadn't been that invested. I made the mistake of posting something vague on Instagram about being single again. Amber called me 30 seconds later. "Are you okay? What happened? Do you need me to come over?" The concern in her voice was real. That was the thing about Amber. Whatever else was going on, she genuinely cared about me. She showed up. She remembered things. She made me feel seen in a way that was both comforting and terrifying. "I'm fine," I said. "It wasn't serious anyway. He's an idiot. You're incredible. Anyone would be lucky to be with you." There it was again. That intensity. That something more than friendship energy. "Thanks, Amber. I should go. I'm exhausted." "Wait, Maya, She paused. "Can I see you this week? I feel like we haven't really connected in forever." I should have said no. The guilt got the better of me. "Sure. Coffee on Wednesday? Perfect. I'll text you." Wednesday came. I almost canceled 3 times, but talked myself out of it. I was being ridiculous. We were going to have coffee. In public. Everything would be fine and normal, and I'd realize I'd been overthinking everything. Except Amber showed up looking different. She'd gotten her hair done, was wearing makeup, had on this dress I'd never seen before. She looked beautiful. Like she was going on a date. Oh no. We ordered our coffees and sat down at a corner table. Amber was nervous, fidgeting with her cup, not meeting my eyes. "So," I said, trying to keep things light, "what's new with you? How's Derek?" Her face darkened at the mention of his name. "He's fine. We're fine." "Actually, we're not fine, but that's not why I wanted to see you." "What's going on?" She took a deep breath. "Maya, I need to tell you something. And I need you to just listen, okay? Don't interrupt. Just let me get this out." Every muscle in my body tensed. This was it. This was the conversation I'd been dreading. "I've been thinking a lot lately," she continued. "About my life. About what makes me happy. About what I want. And I've realized something important. Please don't say it. Please don't say it. You make me happier than anyone else in my life. When I'm with you, I feel like myself. Like the best version of myself. You get me in a way that no one else does. Not even Derek. Especially not Derek." "Amber, please. Just let me finish." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I think about you constantly. I wake up thinking about you. I go to sleep thinking about you. I make excuses to see you. I buy things that remind me of you. Her voice cracked. "I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way you became the most important person in my life." I pulled my hand back. "You're married." "I know. I know I am. And I love Derek, I do, but it's not the same. What I feel for him is comfortable, safe. What I feel for you is..." She stopped, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's everything." My heart was pounding. Part of me had known this was coming, but hearing it out loud was different. Hearing her actually say the words made it real in a way I wasn't prepared for. "I don't know what you want me to say," I told her honestly. "I want you to tell me if you feel it too. This connection between us. I see the way you look at me sometimes. The way you smile when I text you. Tell me I'm not imagining this. Amber, you're my friend. My good friend, but that's all. I don't feel that way about you. Or about women in general." The hope in her eyes died. It was like watching a light go out. "Oh," she said quietly. "I'm sorry. I misread things. I'm so stupid." "You're not stupid. Your feelings are valid, but I can't return them. And you're married. You have a whole life with Derek. A life I'm not sure I want anymore." She wiped at her eyes. "Being with him feels like a lie now. Like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. Have you talked to him about any of this? How can I? How do I tell my husband that I've fallen for my best friend? That I think I might be..." She couldn't finish the sentence. We sat in silence for a long moment. The coffee shop buzzed around us, people living their normal lives while mine imploded. "I think you need to figure out what you want," I said finally. "But you need to do that away from me. This isn't healthy, Amber, for either of us. Are you ending our friendship? I'm saying we need space. You need to work through whatever you're going through, and I need to not be part of that process." She stood up abruptly, grabbing her purse. "I understand. I'm sorry I made things weird. I'm sorry I ruined everything, Amber." Wait, but she was already walking out, leaving her untouched coffee on the table. I sat there for another hour, staring at that coffee cup, trying to process what had just happened. My friend was in love with me. My married friend was in love with me. And I just cut her out of my life. I felt awful, but I also felt relieved. Like a weight I didn't know I'd been carrying had been lifted. That relief lasted about 3 days. Then Derek called me. "Maya, it's Derek, Amber's husband. We met a few times, I remember. Is everything okay?" "Not really. Amber's been really upset lately. She won't tell me what's wrong, but I know you two had coffee last week. Did something happen? Did you guys have a fight?" I had no idea what to to say. I couldn't tell him the truth. That wasn't my truth to tell. We just had a misunderstanding, I said carefully. Nothing major. We both just need some space. She's been crying a lot, barely eating. I'm worried about her, Maya. She doesn't have many close friends, and losing you seems to have really affected her. The guilt came crashing back. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Could you maybe reach out? See if you two can work things out? I hate seeing her like this. I'll think about it, but I didn't reach out. I couldn't. Every time I thought about texting her, I remembered the look in her eyes when she'd held my hand, the way she'd said, "It's everything," and I couldn't do it. 2 weeks passed, then 3, then a month. I threw myself into work, started going to therapy to process everything, slowly rebuilt my social life without Amber in it. It hurt, but it was the right thing to do. I was sure of it, until I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked terrible, thinner, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun. She was standing in the frozen food aisle, staring blankly at a freezer full of ice cream. Amber? She turned, and for a second, her face lit up. Then she remembered everything, and the light faded. Hey, Maya, are you okay? You look— I know how I look. She grabbed a random pint of ice cream and put it in her cart. I'm fine. Just going through some stuff. Derek called me a few weeks ago. He's worried about you. She laughed bitterly. Of course he is. Derek's always worried about something. Did you tell him? No, that's not my place. Thanks for that, at least. She started to push her cart away, then stopped. For what it's worth, I'm seeing a therapist. Trying to figure my life out? Figure myself out. That's good. That's really good, Amber. Yeah, she thinks I've been suppressing my sexuality for years, using my marriage as a cover. Fun times. She said it with zero humor. Anyway, I should go. Take care of yourself, Maya. She walked away before I could respond, leaving me standing in the frozen food aisle, feeling like the worst person in the world. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her, about the fact that she was struggling, that she was finally confronting something she'd been hiding from herself, and that I'd abandoned her right when she needed support most. But what was I supposed to do? Be her emotional support while she figured out her sexuality? That wasn't fair to either of us. Especially not to me. I called Jennifer, told her everything. The confession, the space, the grocery store encounter. That's a lot, Jennifer said when I finished. How are you feeling? Guilty? Confused? I don't know. Is it bad that I miss her? Not in a romantic way, obviously, but I miss my friend. The person she was before everything got complicated. That person is still there. She's just going through something hard. I know, but I can't be part of her journey. Does that make me a bad person? No, babe. It makes you human. You set a boundary. That's healthy. Then why does it feel so terrible? Jennifer didn't have an answer for that. Another month went by. Then 2. I dated a guy named Tyler for a few weeks, but it fizzled out. Work got busy. Life happened. I thought about Amber less and less, though she still crossed my mind sometimes, usually late at night when I couldn't sleep. Then, on a random Tuesday evening, my doorbell rang. It was Derek. He looked rough. Unshaven, wrinkled shirt, exhausted eyes. Derek? What are you doing here? Can I come in, please? I need to talk to you. I let him in, offered him water, which he declined. We sat in my living room, and he put his head in his hands. Amber asked for a separation, he said. My stomach dropped. What? When? Last week. She moved out 3 days ago. She's staying with her sister in Milwaukee. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. He looked up at me, and there was something in his eyes. Anger? Hurt? Both? She told me everything. About you, about how she feels, about the coffee shop. Oh no, Derek, I need to know something, Maya, and I need you to be honest with me. Did you two have an affair? What? No, absolutely not. Nothing physical ever happened between us. Nothing. But she's in love with you. She thinks she is. I don't know. Maybe she is. But I never encouraged it. I never reciprocated. As soon as I realized what was happening, I put distance between us. She said you broke her heart. That stung. I didn't mean to. I just couldn't give her what she wanted. Derek stood up, started pacing. 7 years. We've been together 7 years. Married for 4. And the whole time she was hiding this? She was lying to me? To herself? I don't think she was lying. I think she didn't know. How do you not know you're attracted to women? How do you marry someone when you're not sure about your own sexuality? I don't have those answers. I'm sorry. He stopped pacing and looked at me. Really looked at me. Part of me wants to blame you. It would be easier if I could blame you, but she told me you didn't do anything wrong, that you were just being a friend and she caught feelings and complicated everything. I'm sorry this happened to you. To both of you. Are you going to be with her? Is that what this is? She ends our marriage and runs off with you? No, I'm not interested in her that way. I've told her that. Something in his expression shifted. Relief, maybe? Or just exhaustion? She keeps saying she needs to find herself. Figure out who she really is. Like our entire marriage was just her playing pretend. He sank back down onto my couch. How do I compete with that? How do I fight for someone who's questioning everything about their identity? You can't. And maybe you shouldn't. You think I should just let her go? I think you should let her figure out what she needs. And maybe you need to figure out what you need too. If she's been unhappy, you probably have been too, on some level. He was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, I saw the signs. I just didn't want to believe them. The way she talked about you, the amount of time she spent with you, how happy she was after seeing you and how distant she was at home. I told myself it was just friendship, that I was being paranoid. I'm sorry. Everyone keeps saying that. You're sorry. She's sorry. Her sister is sorry. I'm tired of people being sorry. He stood up again. I should go. I don't even know why I came here. I guess I just needed to see you. To understand what was so special about you that my wife would blow up our entire life. Derek, don't. Just take care of yourself, Maya. He left and I stood in my doorway watching him walk to his car. He sat in the driver's seat for a solid 5 minutes before starting the engine. I wondered if he was crying. I closed the door and leaned against it, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. A marriage was ending. A person I cared about was in pain. Multiple people were in pain, and I was somehow at the center of it all, even though I'd done nothing wrong, right? I spent the next week spiraling, questioning everything. Had I somehow led Amber on without realizing it? Had I been too friendly, too available, too much? Was I responsible for the destruction of her marriage? My therapist said no, that people's feelings are their own responsibility, that I'd set appropriate boundaries, that I hadn't done anything wrong. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are two very very different things. Then Amber texted me, just one line, "Can we please talk?" I stared at that message for hours. Jennifer told me to ignore it, that Amber needed to work through her stuff without me. My therapist said the decision was mine to make, but to be clear about my boundaries if I chose to respond. I typed and deleted about 50 different responses before settling on, "I'm not sure that's a good idea right now." She replied immediately, "Please, I'm not going to make things weird. I just need closure. One conversation, then I'll leave you alone." Closure. Everyone always wants closure, like it's this magic thing that makes pain go away. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Coffee shop, public place. 1 hour, she showed up looking better than she had at the grocery store. Still thin, but healthier somehow. More put together. There was something different in her eyes. Clearer, maybe. "Thank you for meeting me," she said as we sat down. 1 hour, Amber. That's all I can give you. I know, and I respect that. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "I've been doing a lot of therapy, a lot of thinking, and I owe you an apology." "You don't. Please let me finish. I put you in an impossible position. I developed feelings I didn't know how to handle, and instead of dealing with them myself, I made them your problem. I made you uncomfortable. I probably scared you, and I'm sorry." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Thank you for saying that. Derek told me he came to see you. I'm sorry about that too. He had no right. He was hurt. He was looking for answers. Answers I should have given him years ago." She took a sip of her coffee. "My therapist thinks I've known I was attracted to women since college, but I couldn't accept it. My family is conservative. My parents would have disowned me, so I buried it. Convinced myself I was straight. Married a good man who loved me. Tried to be normal, Amber, and then I met you. And everything I'd been suppressing just exploded. You weren't the problem, Maya. You were just the catalyst. If it hadn't been you, it would have been someone else eventually. How are you doing?" "Really? I'm okay. It's hard. The separation is messy. Derek's angry and he has every right to be. My parents don't understand. My sister's been great though. And therapy is helping." She smiled sadly. "I'm learning how to be honest with myself, finally. And your feelings for me? Still there. Probably will be for a while, but I'm working on accepting that you don't feel the same way. That I romanticized our friendship into something it wasn't. That I need to move on." We talked for the full hour about her therapy, her separation, her slow journey toward accepting her sexuality. About my life, which felt boring in comparison. About our friendship and whether it could ever exist again. "I don't think we can be friends," I told her honestly. "Not right now. Maybe not ever. I'm sorry. I understand. I don't like it, but I understand." She stood up to leave, then turned back. "You're an incredible person, Maya. I meant that. Not in a romantic way. Just as a human statement. Don't let anyone make you feel less than amazing. Take care of yourself, Amber. You too." I watched her walk out of the coffee shop for what I knew was probably the last time. There was finality to it that felt both sad and necessary. A chapter closing. I thought that would be the end of it. Closure achieved. Time to move on. But life has a way of being messier than we want it to be. 3 months later, I was at a bar with Jennifer and some other friends when I saw them. Amber and a woman I didn't recognize. Sitting in a corner booth, holding hands across the table, looking at each other the way people look at each other when they're falling in love. Amber looked happy. Really, genuinely happy in a way I'd never seen her during our entire friendship. The woman was blonde, tattooed, had this confident energy. They were laughing about something, completely absorbed in each other. Jennifer followed my gaze. "Is that? Yeah, she looks good. She does." And she did. She looked free, like she'd finally figured out who she was and stopped apologizing for it. Part of me felt happy for her. She'd found herself. She'd found someone. She was living her truth, but there was another part of me, a smaller, pettier part that felt something else. Not jealousy exactly, more like grief loss, the ghost of a friendship that could have been but never was. Amber glanced up and saw me. Our eyes met across the crowded bar. She smiled, a real smile, not sad or complicated, and raised her glass slightly in acknowledgement. I smiled back and raised my own glass. Then she turned back to her date, and I turned back to my friends, and that was it. That was closure. Not some big emotional conversation or dramatic reconciliation. Just two people who'd been important to each other, acknowledging that they were both okay, both moving forward, both learning how to be okay with the way things ended. A few weeks later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Amber's divorce was finalized, that she'd come out to her family, that her parents had reacted exactly as she'd feared, they'd cut her off, but that she'd found a community of people who supported her. I heard she'd moved in with the blonde woman, that they were happy. I was glad, genuinely glad, but I also knew I'd never reach out, never try to rekindle the friendship. What we had was too tangled up in pain and confusion and feelings that couldn't be reciprocated. Some friendships aren't meant to survive. Some people come into your life to teach you something about yourself, about boundaries, about complexity, and then they leave. Amber taught me that sometimes people's feelings for you aren't your responsibility to manage, that you can care about someone deeply without being able to give them what they want. That ending, something doesn't make you a bad person. She also taught me that I needed to be more careful about boundaries, more aware of the signals I was sending, even unintentionally, more willing to have difficult conversations before things spiraled out of control. 6 months after that night in the bar, I started seeing someone, a guy named Connor who I met at a friend's wedding. He was kind and funny and straightforward in a way that felt refreshing after everything with Amber. No hidden feelings, no complicated subtext, just two people who liked each other trying to figure out if they could build something together. I told him about Amber on our third date, the whole story. I figured if it was going to be a deal breaker, better to know early. "That sounds intense," he said when I finished. "How do you feel about it now?" "Sad, mostly, that a friendship ended, that people got hurt, but also relieved that it's over." "Do you think she was actually in love with you? Or was it more about what you represented? Freedom, maybe? Permission to be herself?" "I'd never thought about it that way. Maybe both?" "Either way, it sounds like you handled it the best you could. You can't control other people's feelings, only your own actions." Connor was right, and sitting there with him, having an honest conversation about complicated things, I realized I was okay. The whole situation with Amber had felt world-ending at the time, but I'd survived it, learned from it, grown because of it. A year later, I was scrolling through Instagram when I saw Amber had posted an engagement engagement photo. She and the blonde woman, her name was Rachel, I learned from the caption, were on a beach somewhere, both grinning at the camera, showing off matching rings. The caption read, "She said yes. Here's to finally being brave enough to live my truth and finding someone who loves me for exactly who I am." The comments were full of congratulations and heart emojis and people celebrating their love. I stared at the photo for a long time, at Amber's genuine smile, at the way she leaned into Rachel, at the pure joy radiating from both of them. Then I liked the photo and typed out a comment. "Congratulations. Wishing you both all the happiness." She replied an hour later with a simple, "Thank you, Maya. That means a lot." And it did mean a lot to both of us. It meant we could both acknowledge what had happened between us, the pain and the complexity of it, and still wish each other well. It meant we'd both moved on. It meant the story had an ending that, while not happy in a traditional sense, was honest and real. I closed Instagram and looked over at Connor, who was making dinner in my kitchen, singing badly to some song on the radio. This was my life now, simple, uncomplicated, real. And I was happy. Not because of any dramatic revelation or poetic justice. Not because Amber had gotten her comeuppance or learned some valuable lesson. Just happy because I'd survived something difficult and come out the other side stronger, clearer about who I was and what I wanted. Sometimes that's all closure is. Not a big moment or a perfect ending. Just the slow realization that you're okay. That they're okay. That life goes on, messy and imperfect and beautiful in its own way. I never saw Amber in person again. We remained Instagram acquaintances, liking each other's posts occasionally, keeping a polite digital distance. She got married to Rachel in a small ceremony that looked beautiful from the photos. She seemed to be thriving, building a life that was authentically hers. And I was thriving too. In my own way, with my own life. The question, is my married female friend secretly in love with me, had been answered. Yes, she was. And it had complicated everything and changed both our lives in ways neither of us could have predicted. But we'd both survived. Both found our way to something better. And sometimes that's the best ending you can ask for. The story could end there. It probably should end there. But there's one more thing that happened that I think about sometimes. About 2 years after everything went down, I got a message from Derek. Just a simple, "Hey, how are you doing?" We exchanged a few messages. Small talk. Updates on our lives. He'd started dating someone new. A woman from his gym. Things were good. Then he said something that stuck with me. "I don't blame you anymore, you know. For what happened with Amber, I did for a while. But my therapist helped me see that our marriage was broken long before you came into the picture. You didn't cause the problems. You just helped reveal them. I'm glad you're doing better," I wrote back. "Me too. And honestly, I think the divorce was the best thing that could have happened to both of us." She's happy now. Actually happy. And I'm learning how to be happy too. We were just trying to force something that didn't fit. We chatted a bit more, then said goodbye. I doubt we'll talk again. But that conversation gave me something I didn't know I needed. Confirmation that everyone involved had survived. That the ending, painful as it was, had been necessary. Life is weird like that. You think you're in one story, a simple friendship, and suddenly you're in a completely different story. Questions about sexuality and identity and the end of a marriage. And there's no villain, no hero. Just people trying their best and sometimes failing and sometimes hurting each other without meaning to. Amber wasn't wrong for falling for me. I wasn't wrong for not reciprocating. Derek wasn't wrong for being hurt. Rachel wasn't wrong for being the right person at the right time. We were all just humans, fumbling through our lives, trying to figure out who we are and what we want. And sometimes people come into your life to shake everything up, to make you question things, to force growth and change in ways that feel uncomfortable but end up being necessary. Amber was that person for me. And apparently, I was that person for her. So if someone asks me now, is my married female friend secretly in love with me? I'd tell them to trust their instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Have the hard conversation, set boundaries, don't wait for things to explode. But I'd also tell them to be kind, to remember that people's feelings, however inconvenient or complicated, are real and valid. That you can set boundaries without being cruel. That you can walk away without making someone feel like they're broken or wrong for feeling what they feel. And I'd tell them that the story doesn't end when the friendship ends. That both people keep living, keep growing, keep becoming more themselves. That sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you care about is let them go. Let them figure out their own path without you standing in the way. I think Amber would agree with that. I think she'd say our friendship, as brief and complicated as it was, helped her become the person she was always meant to be. And I'd say the same. So yeah, my married female friend was secretly in love with me. And it was messy and painful and complicated, but it was also real and honest in its own way. And ultimately, it led both of us somewhere better, even if we couldn't walk that path together. And now, when I look back on it all, I mostly just feel grateful. Grateful for the friendship we had, however briefly. Grateful for the lessons I learned. Grateful that we both found our way to happiness, even if it looked nothing like either of us expected. That's life, I guess. Never quite what you expect. Always more complicated than it should be. But also, if you're lucky, full of moments of grace and growth and unexpected beauty. Connor is calling me from the kitchen. Dinner's ready. My real, uncomplicated, beautiful life is waiting for me, and I'm finally ready to fully live it.